I would see all these other people, these other moms who were doing all these, like I said, people oriented things. And I thought, oh, I'm supposed to do that. Maybe I'm not doing this right.
Do you miss having time for Jesus and yourself, but you're drowning in the responsibilities of motherhood? If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Cheryl, wife, girl mom, and Jesus follower. I learned the not so secret ways to become the mom my girls needed by prioritizing Jesus back into my mom life and reclaiming my identity in Christ. If you're ready to build faith while washing dishes, rediscover your identity, and love yourself like your babies do, grab your earbuds and lock that bathroom door for a minute alone. It's time for Mom. Hi, beautiful. Welcome to the Time for Mom podcast. I am your host, Cheryl, and I am so excited today to bring you a guest interview, the amazing and beautiful Sandy Cooper. She is an award-winning author of 3 books, a student of the Bible, a professionally certified plant-based home chef, and I've heard she's got some amazing recipes, just so you know. She has been married to her husband, John, for over 32 years and is a mom to 3 young adults, 1 son-in-law, and a 9-month-old son in heaven. She's been helping frazzled moms find peace since 2008 at thescooponbalance.com and is the co-founder of Writing Off Social, where she helps female Christian writers grow their audience without social media. Sandy is the host of the Balanced MomCast, the co-host of Writing Off Social, the podcast, and she writes at Behind the Balance on Substack from her home office in Florida, where she lives with her family and the ocean. Welcome to the podcast, Sandy.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Cheryl. It really is an honor to be here.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this interview for months.
Oh, I know. It has been months, hasn't it? I know.
it,
I'm so sorry that I made you wait so long. I'm like, yeah, I can be on, but it can't be till June. I sounded
it
like
worked
such a
out.
diva. Okay, good. Good,
It
good,
worked
good.
out. No, I was reading your post on Substack and I was like, oh, who? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you have had a lot on your plate. So,
Yes. Yes. Thank you for being patient.
well, thank you for and scheduling out. I'm so excited. Okay.
Good. Me too.
All right. Let's do just a real quick warm-up question. You went to a whole food plant-based diet for your health, and
Hmm.
I was curious, what was the hardest thing to learn how to cook since you started eating that way?
Okay. So I love this question. However, I had a little bit of problem with the word hardest because I don't really cooking is not really hard for me because I grew up with a mom who cooked, and so I was around cooking a lot. And I've been cooking for a long time, but I would say probably the most challenging thing for me in eating, especially like switching to eating, all fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, like all of that kind of thing, is learning how to make things taste good. It takes a lot of trial and error and also like knowledge about how flavors work together and how they don't work together and how to use different cooking techniques, like whether or not you should be grilling something or baking something or searing something or boiling something or steaming something or stir frying something. They all bring out different kinds of brightness or depth or whatever it does to the food. And so I think that has been my biggest challenge is how do I make things taste really good? I like combining certain spices or adding an acid at the end, like a splash of lemon juice, or adding some vinegar to something, or searing something until it browns on the bottom, and understanding what it takes to make that happen. I make a lot of food that our family sits down to eat it, and then I'm like, "Ooh, I didn't do it this time. Like something is off. It's too overly seasoned. It's too bland. It's mushy or whatever." So yeah, I would say that's been the most challenging thing. It's just how do I make this taste really good?
I don't think it really matters what diet you have. That is a challenge like across the board.
Yes, I would agree. I think it's just sometimes a little bit easier if you're used to eating prepackaged food because it's already seasoned. So you don't have to really do things to it. Or if you eat, like I don't eat meat. So if you're eating meat, meat is kind of hard to mess up. Like you can put a salt and pepper on it. Let me say this. It was easier for me to cook meat than it has been for me to find good ways to make good plant-based things.
Okay.
So,
I've
yeah.
had to wash a lot of meat that I've messed up on the seasoning. So
We're we're washing the meat tonight,
Ah,
kids.
yes.
Pay
Yes.
no attention. This isn't part of the recipe that I'm following. This is just my version. I
Oh,
washed
wait,
this.
you're supposed to follow the recipe? Maybe that's what I've been doing wrong.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Thank you for answering that question. The topic that we're going to tackle today is kind of a hard one. It is guilt and failure because motherhood is filled with both. We have expectations that we have on ourselves, we have societal expectations, familial expectations, expectations from your children. I mean, they want to be fed and held like all the time, and you
Like, what
just
is up with
can't,
that?
right? It's like they want your attention. I don't get it.
Right.
So, in that rather difficult topic, I was telling my mom, and she's like, "Oh, why would you do that?" I'm excited
Yeah.
about this.
That's funny.
You are an empty nester officially.
Mhm.
And when you think back to your early days of motherhood, what were the moments that first made you question whether you were doing things right? Insert air quotes.
I actually entered motherhood really confident. I'm part of a really big family. I'm the youngest of 7 kids, but my oldest sister is 17 years older than me, and she started having kids before I even remember. So there were just always kids around our family. And I started babysitting at a young age. I babysat all through high school and college. And so by the time I had babies, I was so ready to just move from full time work into being a full time mom. I quit my job. I happily quit my job. I was ready to just, and I love babies. So I'm one of those rare, I was going to say weird, but I don't think it's weird to love babies. But, you know, a lot of moms really struggle with the newborn stage and find that to be the most challenging, where I was very into the newborn stage. And so I I went pretty seamlessly into it, but I remember the first time that I started wondering if I was getting it right was when I realized that the moms who were around me in my circle, in my neighborhood, in my family, they all seemed to be out doing like people-y things. They would get up and go to a play group, or they would have some kind of mommy and me situation, or they were doing things with like groups of other moms. And I realize now that that's more of an introvert extrovert thing, which I didn't really understand about myself at the time because I always thought that I was an extrovert, but it turns out I'm not. It turns out I'm an introvert. Because I could manage myself well socially, I just always assumed that I was an extrovert. But I realized that I really enjoyed just the quiet of home with a baby. And I really liked being alone. And I really liked doing things with just my baby and just keeping my home. But I would see all these other people, these other moms who were doing all these, like I said, people oriented things. And I thought, oh, I'm supposed to do that. Maybe I'm not doing this right. And that was even before social media because I had my kids. My first one was born in 1997. My last one was born in 2006. And so I didn't even join my first social media platform until 2008. So I had pretty much parented for a solid decade. And social media didn't even get weird till like probably 2014 is when it got weird, where people really like the whole comparison thing just got out of hand. So I have so much compassion for moms right now. I just feel like whenever you look around at what other moms are doing, it sets you up for feeling like you might be doing it wrong.
I have found myself there over and over again of like, oh, how come that mom can do that? Well, her kids are like 7 years older than mine. Of course, she can do things differently. You know? It's
Exactly.
like, yeah.
Exactly.
When you started to notice that, what did that mom guilt look for you? Not like the dramatic moments where it just kind of punched you in the face, but more of those insidious ones that just kind of worm their ways in.
Well, I'm happy to report right now that the whole issue of mom guilt is like a non issue. So there is hope for all of you who are listening. If you're thinking,
Yay!
oh my gosh, I'm going to deal with this the rest of my life. No, you will not. You will mature. You will grow out of it. You will learn. We can get into all of that. So right now, I don't have mom guilt. In fact, I was just telling my 19-year-old right before I got on this call that I was getting on this call. And I told her what we were talking about. And when I said mom guilt, her face like contorted weird. And she was like, what's that? And I said, well, apparently a lot of moms feel guilty like they're always getting it wrong and they're always failing their kids. And she's like, do you? Like she was like, and I said, I used to, but I do not anymore. And she's like, good. She's like, it's not your fault if we screw up. And I was like, exactly. Exactly. Going back to like when my kids were younger, the one thing that I remember was so insidious for me was no matter what I was doing, I felt like I was supposed to be doing something else. So if I was sitting down and playing with my kids, I would notice the mess and I'd be like, I should be cleaning. Like, this is our house is a disaster. So I would get up and start cleaning. And then I would think, because I've always been a writer. I started my podcast in 2008 when my third child was born. But I was writing all through those years when my three oldest ones were babies. As soon as I'd start cleaning, I would think, you need to make some time to write. Like, you have to write. People, like, no one's going to know your words if you don't get them out there, Sandy. And then I would start writing. And then I'd think, you should be with the kids. Like, why are you not playing with the kids? And it was just this insidious cycle of no matter what you're doing, you should be doing another thing. That's what it looked like for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whether it's like, oh, you're doing that, you should be managing your time better, or your kids are only going to be little for a short time. The dishes
Yes.
can wait. I mean, for me, the dishes can't wait. I have to do the
The
dishes.
dishes can't wait. Okay, can we talk about that for a minute? Okay. So that was a thing how old are your kids, Cheryl?
They are 6 and 3.
Oh, those are two of my favorite ages. Okay, so when my kids were 6 and 3, so I had a daughter who was 6 and a son who was 3. When they were that age, the prevailing message to moms was some version of a spotless house is a sign of a misspent life. Like, if you have a tidy home, then you're doing it wrong. Happiness happens in the mess, and your kids should just enjoy, it'll be there tomorrow, like that whole thing. But I don't know about you, but like I couldn't function like that. Like I actually like a tidy house and I actually like things picked up and in order. And I didn't want my kids to grow up in chaos. I wanted them to learn how to clean their rooms and keep them picked up. And I can't leave the dishes at the end of the night. Like, I want to wake up tomorrow. Sandy is always so grateful that like I cleaned the kitchen before I went to bed because she wakes up to a spotless kitchen and that brings me clarity. And I just want to say, if you're the kind of mom who loves the mess and the chaos, great, then embrace that. But if you're the kind of mom who needs things picked up, you should not feel guilty for making time to clean and pick up your house. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I'm off my
Amen.
soapbox.
Well, not only that, as you add kids, you start adding personalities, and one kid is fine with chaos. The other one has to have order or they get overwhelmed. And then,
Yes,
yes, life changes. And then, yeah, motherhood is hard.
yes, it is, ma'am. Yes, it is.
Yeah. It only took me 6 years to figure out if I did the dishes and cleaned the table off, I was so much happier the next morning.
It's
But
so
not
true.
everyone needs that. I
Not
found out I
everyone needs
did.
that. That's right. And I do think there just, to piggyback on that, that is just a really good way to approach things. Like, let yourself try things and use it as data. And if you clean it up and you realize it has a positive effect the next day, that's great data. If it's so stressful to clean at night and you just need to get all the kids in bed and you need to get yourself in bed or you need other ways to unwind, that is also okay. My mother-in-law, she has passed now, but I remember whenever I would go visit her, I would insist that we clean up the kitchen before we went to bed. And she would be like, Sandy, I don't mind waking up in the morning. I will do it in the morning. Like, truly, just leave it. She really was okay with that. And she kept a beautiful home. It wasn't that her home was a wreck. It was just I needed it cleaned up. And so I assumed she did too. And it just not everybody's wired that way.
Yeah, they aren't. I have two sister-in-laws and their houses are run completely differently than mine because it's what
Yeah.
works for them
Right,
and in their
exactly.
life where they are now.
Exactly. And it will change. It always does.
Always so
Yes.
much change.
Yes. Yes. So much change.
What's something that you wish someone had told you about all of the challenges and difficulties that you would face in motherhood?
When you sent me this question ahead of time, and I had a chance to kind of think through these answers, my first thought was I don't think anyone could have said anything to me to prepare me for the challenges I would face in motherhood. Like, truthfully. Um, Motherhood for me has been so much more challenging than I ever dreamed it would be. I always wanted to be a mom. I, playing with baby dolls and playing house was my play of choice as a child. And so becoming a mother was really the fulfillment of just lifelong desires that I had. And if anyone would have told me exactly what I would face as a mom, I don't think I would have had the courage to be a mom. And that's not to scare anyone because, at the same time, don't we all hate the moms who are like, oh, just wait. Like, they see the pregnant girl and they're like, oh, you're never going to sleep again, honey. Sorry. Or, they have the baby and the baby's so sweet and they're like, oh, just wait till the terrible twos. Or, you've got your 3-year-old and your 6-year-old and you already have people warning you about the teen years. Like, we hate that mom. We don't want to be that mom. Like, we don't want anyone to tell us like how bad it's going to be. And so, to that end, I don't know that anyone could have said anything to me that could have prepared me for the challenges. Just a little of my story. Right out of the gate, parenting was so challenging. My firstborn, Noah, was born 6 months premature, not 6 months premature, my goodness, 6 weeks premature. And he was in the NICU for 6 weeks. Then, when he was 9 months old, he died suddenly while we were on vacation from a genetic disorder that wasn't even related to his issues at birth. And my next child, she has struggled with clinical depression and anxiety literally her whole life. Like, from the time she was a baby, we noticed it. And so that has been just an ongoing issue to this day. My son Elijah is on the autism spectrum, and he, has high functioning autism. It's Asperger's. They don't use that word anymore, but that's what it is. So because of the genetic situation with my oldest son, we chose to adopt our two youngest. And of course, there's all the challenges with adoption. We have one domestic, one international. And so many times I felt ill equipped to handle whatever situation we were facing. But I had to constantly remind myself that God put this child into our family and he made me this child's mom. We have everything we need because God is the one who put us together. God is providing for us, will provide for us whatever we need. So, if I had to say, if there's one thing that I would want moms to know that I wish I really could have known before all of that, is that no matter what challenge that you are facing, you are the exact right mom for your child. You are God's choice for that child's mother. And because he hand selected you, he has equipped you or will equip you with everything you need, whether it's wisdom, whether it's love, whether it's patience, whether it's support, whether it's additional resources, whatever you need, God will provide it for you.
And that's not to say that you will be without challenges because
Oh, gosh,
motherhood
no.
is challenging. But yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's amazing when my husband and I do face challenges with our kids, when we take the time to pause and pray and God brings things to mind or people to mind. Or like, okay, this is the direction or the help or the
Hmm.
change that we need to make. And he's been so faithful in that as we face new challenges with our kids.
Yeah, for sure.
When you felt like you were failing your kids or were struggling with mom guilt because you weren't the extroverted mom, or when
Hmm.
you felt like you were falling short, was there something that you used to help get past those moments, the overwhelm, like I said, the guilt, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Thankfully, the times that I felt like I was truly failing my kids were really few and far between in terms of like if to that extreme. I try not to use those really extreme examples because for me, like the times that I truly felt like I was failing were times that I needed external help. Like when I was really suffering from for real clinical depression and I was having a hard time functioning and I wasn't thinking right and I didn't have a right perspective because that's what depression does to you. So everything felt much more horrible than it was. during times like that, I could legitimately tell you that I felt like I was failing, you know? And so for times like that, I mean, the only way out of that or through that is to, well, first of all, lean as hard as you can into Jesus. And not that when you lean into Jesus, all depression disappears, because there are a lot of God-fearing people who who struggle with depression. So not to say that, but I feel like it's the only way to move forward is to also immerse yourself in the truth of God and in God's peace and God's love. And then he will lead you to get whatever help you need, whether that needs to be seeing a therapist, counselor, taking meds, making lifestyle changes, getting external help around the house, like whatever that means. Okay, so there's that kind of failing that I felt like I dealt with. But for me, like the day to day, just the discouragement, like you use the example of when I wish I was that kind of mom. I wish I was fun mom. I wish I was the kind of mom that would embrace the messy house. Like a lot of times I would feel that kind of like low level, not catastrophic, my kids need a different mom kind of mom, but more of like a, oh, I wish I was that kind of mom. This was a tactic I used all the time. So here comes the real advice. It was so much easier for me if, like, Cheryl, if you would have come to me and told me, I feel like I'm failing as a mom, it's so much easier for me to talk to you and be like, what? Like, oh, Cheryl, you are amazing. Look at all the things that you have already accomplished today. And let's just talk about how you show up for your kids. And let's just talk about how much your kids adore you and how much they desire to be near you. And look what a beautiful home you have created. It would flow out of me to talk to my friends. And so, one tactic that I used on myself is that whenever I would start to feel like I'm not doing this right, I would talk to myself like I was talking to a friend. And a lot of times that ended up being blog posts. Like over those years of early parenting, I wrote over 700 blog posts. Probably half of those were written, quote, to other moms, but they were actually written to me. They were me trying to encourage myself. And I thought, you know, if I need this kind of encouragement, then there's probably other moms who need this encouragement as well. I'm going to just put this out on the internet. This is not supposed to be a plug for my book, but my book, Mom, You're Amazing, are literally a collection of those essays because I wanted to encourage the moms who listen to my podcast. And that was my strategy. My strategy was I'm going to talk to myself like I would be talking to Cheryl or any other mom who is feeling like she's not measuring up. That was my strategy.
And if you're wondering, you should definitely get her book or listen to her podcast, which her book is on there because it is amazing. You'll probably cry, but it's amazing.
There will probably be tears. I
Unless
will
you're
agree.
made of rock, yes.
Yes, unless you're made of rock, at which point you wouldn't need my podcast.
Exactly, exactly.
That's right.
So it sounds like for your personal experience, when you were really struggling with guilt, it was all of those cultural expectations and really like those fad, like this is the mommy fad right now. Like for me, the mom fad is you've got to connect with your child and meet all their emotional needs and all of that kind
Mm,
of thing, which for me is it's not healthy for
yeah.
me. There's an extent of that, but I can't take my personality and my traits and just remove them and put another mom in my skin. So
Mhm.
it sounded like for you, that was kind of the same issue when you were facing guilt and failure. It was more the cultural expectations.
I have a really strong inner critic. And
Mm,
so I was probably mostly fighting that
okay.
because I didn't have a lot of outside voices speaking at me yet. I mean, I had family and I had some friends, and we were all having babies at the same time, but I wasn't really exposing myself to those like super strong cultural influences yet. I was reading books and, you know, just trying to be a good mom and educate myself. But I have this really, really strong inner critic that is always telling me, oh, you could have done that better. I mean, that's the voice that I hear constantly. I've learned to silence it because it sounds a lot like the spiritual enemy. Like, you know, it's never good enough. It's never good enough. I would say that that's probably really more the root of my, like what I was up against when I was dealing with not feeling like I was achieving expectations or whatever.
Yeah. We as moms, and maybe you have, but I have found the hardest person to give grace to is myself. Like my
Mhm.
expectation is so much higher than literally anyone else has for me.
Yes.
And I say we because I think every mom I've ever talked to has struggled with just not giving themselves the same grace that they would extend to literally anyone in their lives, including their
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
And we get thrown into this fire of motherhood and we're expecting ourselves to just be fireproof, and we're not.
Totally.
That lack of grace, it's a killer.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever felt like your child's struggles were a reflection of your failures as a mom or your struggles as a mom?
Hmm. Rarely. Let me just say that that's not really anything that I deal with. And it's not because I don't feel like I haven't failed as a mom or I haven't struggled as a mom myself, or because my kids don't have struggles, because they absolutely do. But it's because I reject that premise. And that means that feeling that my kids' struggles are a result of my failures assumes that if I was a perfect mom, that my kids would not struggle. And that is not true. That is not true. Case in point, Genesis 1. God was a perfect parent. He put his kids in a perfect environment. And we see how that turned out, right? It was the only time that there was ever a perfect parent in a perfect environment. And the kids still struggled, still rebelled. Like they were killing each other. Like the first okay, so it was Adam and Eve, and then they had Cain and Abel, and there was like the first God's first grandkids, one killed the other one. Like what the heck? Okay, so that's reason one why I don't ever feel like my kids' struggles are a result of my imperfection. But the other reason is because struggle is part of the human experience. And, Jesus promised us that in this world you will have trouble. And there is no amount of my great parenting that is going to relieve my kids of their struggle. And struggle is something that they need to grow. Like, if I just remove all the struggle from them, I'm going to have the weakest, least resilient kids on the planet. And so a little struggle is good. There's a mom instinct, of course, that we all have that, like, we don't want to see our kids in pain. We don't want to see them hurting, which is pain. We don't want to see them struggling. Certainly, like if we could just go in and wave a magic wand and remove it all, we would, because they're our kids and we love them so much. But we also understand the value of, if they don't struggle a little bit, that they will not build any strength. And so I say all that, and then, I will put in this huge caveat. If there is something as a mom, if you're listening and you know that there's something that you're doing that is hurting your child and it's causing them struggle. For example, if you are not emotionally or physically available for your child, if your priorities are all out of whack and you know this, like you sense that something is not okay, or your marriage is a mess and your kids are in the midst of that crossfire constantly, or you, God forbid, have been abusive to your child, you're neglectful in any way, then to that mom I would say my prayer is that you would go get the help you need, because that is something you need to address, and you need support, you need help, you need Jesus, you need wisdom, so that you are not purposefully causing your kids struggle and harm. But I'm assuming that the moms who are listening to this podcast are already like fully invested into trying to do this thing right. I mean, if there is someone listening that knows they need help, then by all means, like, this is not to put condemnation on you. It's to like encourage you, like, please go get help, because like you need that support so you don't hurt your kids. But for most moms who are just dealing with that insidious, you're doing it wrong, inner critic voice, expectations, where whatever way it's showing up for you, I would assure you your perfection will not make perfect kids. Like it just won't. Just look in the Bible. So,
That is hilarious that you bring that out. Everyone you talk to can bring a new perspective, and I never even thought about the
mhm.
perfect. And then you have Joseph and Mary, who were obviously not perfect, and they had a perfect child. So.
Yeah, that's right. That is so true. That's right. Yeah. So, like, even if you're all screwed up, you could still have a perfect kid. Actually, there are no
Well,
more perfect kids, but yeah, I mean, unless Jesus comes back again in the form of another baby, but I don't think that's happening. I'm pretty sure that's not what scripture says. So
Oh, goodness. So in those moments where you came to the realization, okay, I am in this moment, I have failed a little bit, or I'm just not doing as well as I want to. What was the biggest lesson that you learned from realizing that, naming it, and overcoming those moments?
if I had like legitimate screw ups with my kid, it usually came in the form of either me losing my temper or me saying something. I have a very sharp tongue. And when I am angry, or even when I'm really funny, it's because sarcasm is my love language. And so I can be very sarcastic, but it doesn't show up good when you're sarcastic with a kid because you're mad. My biggest screw ups were my anger and my mouth. And my biggest lesson through all of that was that self control is a fruit of the spirit. And as much as I would like to be able to wave a white flag and be like, but I can't help it. It's just how I'm wired. It's just, like that is not true. That is not accurate because self control is a fruit of the spirit and the spirit of God lives in me. And therefore, I have access to that fruit of the spirit. And self control is something that I have to put on and I have to use it. I can't just have it laying dormant in my spirit and expect it to kick in when I am tempted to lose my temper and say something mean. I think above all else, and not to mix metaphors, but it's also self control is like a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And so I learned that I have access to the power that I need because Jesus lives in me. And the more I exercise that power, the stronger I get. That's my biggest lesson.
That is a very good lesson because, like you, I definitely have discovered that my kids amplify the temperament issues that I didn't know I
Mhm.
had.
Isn't that, I know,
And
like
yeah,
whatever it is that you don't know that you have, your kids will be sure to bring it out.
whatever your husband doesn't bring out, your kids will.
That's
Yes.
exactly right. It's
Eh,
so true.
yeah.
And when they get to be like 12 or 13, they will point those things out to you and they will
Like,
tell you. They will
oh
tell
gosh.
you how horrible you are.
Well, my kids aren't waiting. My daughter's like, Mom, why are you angry? I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm overwhelmed. Okay.
There's a difference.
There is a difference.
Oh, so
And that was
true.
the 3-year-old. So yeah.
Ah, oh boy. Well, maybe she will grow out of her bluntness by the time that she gets to be 12. Mine
Uh,
waited till about 12 before they're like, "You are terrible." And I'm like, "What?" No,
I,
you're terrible.
I'm not holding my breath. I was talking to my sister-in-law last night. I'm like, I wish I could just teach them, like, this is how you throw a socially acceptable fit. Do it this way, not that way. We're good.
That's right. Oh, if you could market that, I'm sure that it would make you very profitable.
Socially acceptable fits. Yes, this is
That's
101 right
right.
here.
That's funny.
That actually leads right into the next question. I mean, I have come crawling back to my kids and my husband so many times of, okay, I overreacted. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I will try to do better. Please don't do
Yes.
this again.
Yeah.
Um, how did you, in those moments when you had I totally get you on the sarcasm. That's a whole journey God took me on.
Hmm.
How did you help repair those relationships when, yeah, we're human and that happened? I love James. He's like, if we could control our tongues, we'd all be perfect. You gotta love
That's
James.
right. Yes.
So,
Love the book of James. Yes.
yes, the tongue and the temper are
Yeah.
horrible. And so,
Yes.
how did you help repair those relationships, especially when your kid's like, Mom, you did that wrong. Like, that's not what you've been telling me to do.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. Well, you touched on it. It was exactly what you said. I mean, I apologize early and often and sincerely and humbly. I mean, that's the only way. It's the way Jesus laid out how we handle conflict and how we handle disrepair in relationships and damage that we've done. It's humbling ourselves. It's going to them and just owning what you did and asking for their forgiveness. There's not really any other way that I know to repair damage that I've done with my temper or my words, except to just come back and say, I am so sorry. and just own it and say, I know that I hurt you. And I know the temptation is, but you were so terrible because you disobeyed me. Like, I really will just humble myself and say, listen, your actions in this, we can discuss another time, but I just want to come to you and tell you right now my actions. And they were wrong. My response was out of line and it was hurtful. I hurt you. I am sorry for hurting you. That must have made you feel terrible or scared when I yelled like that. Or you must have been very crushed when I said those words to you. I am so sorry. Will you forgive me? And can we pray? Will you pray for mom right now? Will you pray with mommy right now? That kind of humility changes relationships.
That is great advice. I love the prayers of my kids because they are so hilarious for one.
Yes, they are.
But they are also just so sincere. And like at that age, they haven't learned to censor their prayers. So they will pray about literally everything. And
Absolutely.
it is the
Which is,
best.
it's so beautiful, isn't it,
It
though?
is.
And I have to say, 6-year-olds, I love 3-year-olds, but 6-year-olds are, I think if I had to name one age that is seriously looking back, I have like my oldest is 27 now. If I could look back at one age that I absolutely delighted in my kids was when they were 6, because they're old enough that you don't have to like wipe their bottoms anymore. And they,
Praise the
they're
Lord.
kind. Yeah, exactly. They can like pour their own, whatever, their
Yes.
snack or whatever. They can do that. They can help with the little one, but they also are so funny. Like they're hilarious at 6. I'm loving where you are right now. I mean, I hope you love it. You don't have to love every day because I know it's hard, but I will tell you that is a golden age.
Well, let's just say when I married my husband, I told him I didn't want kids, and God had to do a work with me to
Oh,
soften my
wow.
heart towards children. And I do enjoy my children. I praise God every time someone asks me to help with kids ministry, and God reaffirms that that is not where He has me.
You're like, nope.
I
I
have a
know my gifts and it's not that.
I have a talent for making other people's children cry, so it's not where I'm supposed to be.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no one else wants you in the kids ministry really either, if that's
No.
your gift.
No. They don't.
Oh, that's funny.
In all of our humanness as moms and realization of, okay, we are just this, we did this wrong, we're going to do this now, and all of the ups and downs and the refinement that is motherhood, how have you seen God use your imperfections to so-called to shape good things in your family and your children?
And I alluded to this just in our last question, but I'm hoping that I have modeled for them a pattern of repentance, confession, humility, forgiveness, restoration. Because if my kids don't know what to do when they've screwed up, then I don't feel like I've done my job as a mom. So I'm really hoping that that is what I've modeled for them. It's important that they learn to forgive people who have hurt them. And so, in my imperfections and in the times that I have hurt them intentionally or unintentionally, I mean, I don't know that I've ever intentionally hurt them, but, obviously just letting my temper flare or letting words fly out of my mouth, I did know that I would be hurting them and then I would do it anyway. So, maybe it was intentional. Learning to forgive is hard. But it's a life lesson. Like, if they don't learn to forgive, there's going to be people who hurt them their whole lives. And so, if they don't learn how to forgive and release that person back to God, then they will start harboring resentment and that bitter root that takes root in your heart and grows and festers. And you can just see so many people, the world, everyone's so angry. And I've just got to believe that a lot of those people have been hurt very bad, like all the angry people we see in the world, and not just committing like heinous crimes, but just when you're on the road and people on the road are so angry and people at the grocery store are so angry. Everyone's just angry. And I've got to believe it's because they never learned this process. And so I think it's really, 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 really important. And that's how God often uses our imperfections in our family, is to model this for our kids. And I'm hoping that on a bigger scale, that the fact that I have pretty much put all my imperfections out there for the world to see, and like that I'm not only impacting my family, but I'm impacting other families as well. So, for the good, that maybe other moms can see themselves in some of the things that I've put out there and been vulnerable about, and how God has restored me and helped me navigate those things, so that when they're struggling, that they're like, okay, something pops in their mind, maybe something that I've written or said that will encourage them. So yeah, I hope it goes beyond just my family.
Something I was told early on was a good writer just start writing and they just bleed on the page, and that's how you impact
Hmm.
people.
Well, I've done my fair share of bleeding on the page, that's for
Yes, you
sure.
have. Yes, you have.
Yes.
There was a question that I think you have a fairly thorough answer on. If you could rewrite the definition of what a good mom is, what would it be?
Okay, so I have written on this. This was actually originally from a sermon that I got to preach at my church on
Which I
Mother's
love,
Day
Sandy.
several
I love
years
your
ago.
preaching. I love your preaching, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're very sweet. And so it became then a blog post, and then it became a chapter in my book. And when you asked me like the definition of a good mom, I thought, oh, I have just the answer for that. For the mom who feels like she's the bad mom, here's the truth. A good mom knows she is flawed. She has many weaknesses and makes daily mistakes, sometimes really big, hairy mistakes. But her flaws and weaknesses and mistakes are what keep her tethered to the feet of Jesus. She runs to him 1,000 times a day for strength, patience, wisdom, and rest. She calls to him from the kitchen counter and from the minivan and from the rocking chair and from behind the locked bathroom door. She asks him for forgiveness when she loses her temper or her patience or her mind. And she asks her kids for forgiveness too. She may not realize it, but this pattern of exposing her flaws and weaknesses, messing up, and then asking for forgiveness is what's teaching her children how to navigate their flaws and weaknesses. And so they will also stay tethered to the feet of Jesus. A good mom knows her limitations. Being a mom is legitimate work. So she asks for help, hires people, takes a nap, takes a break, and says no, sometimes all on the same day. A good mom pays attention. She sees her children and does her absolute best to notice all the little idiosyncrasies that comprise each child. And she's good at it too. Ask her anything about her children, anything at all, and the answer is at the forefront of her mind. She intuitively knows what's best for them because she's been studying them and interpreting their cries since the day they were born. A good mom knows her children need to eat and does what she can when she can, the best she can, to put food in their bellies. Sometimes that means an organic home cooked meal with cloth napkins, matching dishes, and dessert. And sometimes that means running through the drive through on the way to the next thing, passing paper bags and cardboard containers to the back seat. A good mom knows her family dynamics are unlike any other on the planet. Her husband or lack of one, the ages and temperaments of her children, no matter how many, her gifts, talents, her resources, along with a million other factors, comprise a beautiful family identity that belongs to her and only her. She probably doesn't realize that each gift, talent, weakness, and flaw of every family member was hand selected by the giver of life. Therefore, what works for other moms may not work for her. What worked for her last year may not work for her this year. So maybe this good mom pursues a career, or maybe this good mom leaves that career to stay home with her babies. Maybe she chooses to homeschool, or maybe she sends every last one of them to public school on a bus. Maybe she keeps a beautifully decorated, meticulously organized home, and maybe her best parenting happens amidst laundry piles and unmade beds in messy kitchens. If she believes she must be like other moms, she will never fully come alive to be the beautiful mother that God designed her to be. A good mom knows that some mommy moments are hard, really hard. She doesn't much enjoy those. In fact, sometimes she wishes them away entirely. The moments, not the children. Okay, sometimes also the children. But other times, her children simply take her breath away. Their scent, their wit, their charm, the sound of their giggles, the way their strong arms pitch the ball or their slim fingers move across the piano keys, She's enraptured. She seeks out these moments. She cherishes these moments, truly, wholly cherishes them, no matter how frequent or how few. A good mom would do anything to protect her children. Even she is surprised at her visceral reaction when something or someone threatens to harm them. She would die for her children in a heartbeat. This isn't hyperbole. This is simply a fact. A good mom keeps showing up, no matter how long the days get or how much her children resist, no matter how inadequate she feels for the task or how loud the voice of the accuser screams, "Bad mom." These are her kids. She loves them with a tenacity and a tenderness that is otherworldly because it flows directly from the heart of God into hers and it keeps her strong. Therefore, she is determined to do her best. She is on a godly mission, a holy endeavor. Of this, she is certain, because nothing else could be this all consuming, overwhelming, and amazing at the same time. Deep down, she knows good mom, bad mom has very little to do with schedules or Hot Wheels cars or food. It has everything to do with purpose and calling and love, even when it's hard and even when she struggles. This is you, mom. You recognize yourself here because the truth is you are a good mom. It's okay to believe it, to say it, to embrace that identity. Rest in God's grace for you today. Silence the voice of the accuser. Expel the lie. You are doing a great job. You are a good mom.
That was one of my favorite chapters.
Mine too. Mine too.
Oh, goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we are pretty much out of time. So before you have to go, where can people find you? We will have links in the show notes, by the way. So scroll down at the bottom, get all the links, join all the things, subscribe. Sandy's amazing.
Thanks. Yes, well, you can find everything I do at the scooponbalance.com. It's my hub where everything lives. And then I also have, if you want to get on my newsletter, I have a quiz, a fun quiz for moms. It's Mom, what's your superpower? And I believe that every mom has a superpower and that superpower is the thing that reflects the heart of God to your children. And so you can take the quiz and you can figure out what your superpower is and how it reflects the heart of God to your children. And then when you take that quiz, you give me your email address and then you'll be on my email list and you can get my newsletter.
Awesome. And it's worth subscribing to. So
Thank
please
you.
do that.
Thank you.
Hey, beautiful. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share this with a mom who is wading through those mounds of laundry and dishes and wishing for just a little me time? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It makes my day to know this podcast has helped you. Well, it's time for me to wash more dishes and cook more food. I'll meet you next Wednesday for another episode. Until then, may the God of grace fill you with his peace. Bye.
You are so sweet, Cheryl. Thank you so much. I felt very honored to be here and just the way you're serving your audience and the way you are speaking life into women is really, really important. And so keep up the good work. I'm really, really proud of you.
Thank you. I'll keep trying.
You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. Your podcast got me through when my husband first got really sick. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.